recording this session so that we will have it for people to be able to view over again a little bit later. So we're going to get started pretty quick here. Of course, you guys know all the drill already. As you're coming in, just maybe keep your video off and your sound off, and that'll probably help on your end as well. And then at the end of the session tonight, we'll definitely take some time for some questions, which you can put in the chat as we're going through even, or at the end as well. I'm happy to have that happen as well. So again, welcome. I know it's a busy time of year. Well, maybe there's not as much busyness this year with fewer Christmas parties and such, but December is usually a tougher time to get folks out. But we wanted to take some opportunities tonight to talk a little bit about the Blended Plus program for grades 9 to 12. As it's new to some of us, some of you, and it might be something that you heard of before, but just wanted a little bit more clarification on as we move into enrollment period at Calgary Academy and beyond. So I'm not sure exactly tonight how many of us are CA folks and how many of us are just hearing about this and want to know a little bit more about it. So typically I would give in an admissions presentation quite a bit of front end on the school and the history and such. I'll do a smaller version of that tonight as we go through, but I really wanted to take most of the time to talk about the program that we're actually introducing for grades 11 and 12 next year, but has been running already for grades 9 and 10 this year. I'm joined by two of the teachers that are actually teaching the program this year, and that's Kim Peterson and Charles Brodeur. And we're also joined by, well, a few other folks as well, but Mike Ross, our assistant principal in high school, will also be saying a few words tonight too. So there's lots of us on the call. I see Irina Dart's on here as well. She's our admissions director. So if we have anything around admissions too, we can certainly answer those questions. So without further ado, I will pop into our slide here. So the Blended Plus program is what we're talking about tonight. There's 3 programs at Calgary Academy. As you may or may not know, there's the Academy program, the Collegiate program, and now the Blended Plus program for grades 9 to 12. And we're really excited about it. Again, it's in the first year of running this year. But let me back up a little bit and talk a little bit about the school just generally here. So our mission and vision, which has undergone a few changes over the last 5 or 6 years, but really is still key to what we always want to do for students, which is to engage them in their learning and set them up for success after this place, after they move past high school and into the real world. We're doing our best to be following REACH principles at our school and to be helping these students grow up to be great kids, as I know that you guys are working on your end too. So hopefully there's some students with us tonight as well that are listening in too. I got the chance today and yesterday with Ms. Peterson and Mr. Ross to talk to all the different grades, grade 8, 9, 10, and 11 that would be going into 9 to 12 for next year, and just did a quick about 20-minute session with them talking a little bit about the program. But they've been with us. They know our school now well, so they're used to a lot of these pieces, but for some of us that might be a bit newer, I just wanted to touch on a few things around that. So again, our vision at our school is always to be thinking about what's next and to be making sure that we are doing the best we possibly can for kids at all times at CA. So if we back up a little bit, like I said, and think about where the school is heading, who we are as an organization, we've been in play for about 40 years at Calgary Academy. We're in our 41st year, celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, which is very exciting. But really what we're trying to do as an organization is to do our best to personalize learning for students. And we want to make sure that our students have the best that they possibly can have to overcome maybe some of the challenges they might have, to help support them through tough times, and to make sure that we are helping them to become more resilient for the life in the real world that's out there. And to be honest with you, I've been just amazed by these kids over the last couple of years at Calgary Academy. Our staff have worked hard, but these students have shown so much resilience and have worked through this pandemic and still come in every day with smiles on their faces, and it has not been easy. I feel the most for our grade 12s who have gone through their whole high school career almost in masks, and hoping that we can have a great grad celebration as we move through the end of this year. But when we think about the future of education, I'm sure you folks are thinking about some of these things on your end as well. What does the future look like for education, not just in Calgary, but in our world? And we've done a lot of research and thinking about this and processing over the last 5-7 years. And over the last few years, we've decided, well, maybe there's a different route and approach for students that would really work well for all sorts of students that in Calgary. And when we started to dig into it and think about it a bit more, we thought, what is it that is most important for students growing up into high school. And those things are things like voice and choice. So we want students to be able to feel like they have control over their education to a certain degree, right? It's not just about sitting in a desk in a chair and taking notes and doing tests. It really is about being engaged in your learning and being a part of that learning journey. It's not just being done to you, it's being done with you and for you so that you have the power to be able to move forward in your life with more confidence and self-esteem. And so that's part of it is that voice and choice piece. We believe that there's flexibility in learning that needs to be happening more and more in education. We already are seeing some of that flexibility, especially through the pandemic. Students have been able to bounce to home learning and be able to manage things. It hasn't been the greatest for everybody, admittedly, but again, it's quite amazing to me to be able to see how students were able to transition. Even last year, we were talking about it today at school. Last year, if you remember, the 7 to 12s, I think, were all out at this point because of the wave that was hitting us, and then even into January for a week. So being able to flip and switch and pivot, as they say, is really important as we move into the future. And that's not just because of a pandemic. It's because we're in a rapidly changing world. And we know that things are changing like very quickly around us, especially in Alberta these days. You see a lot of these things and a lot of questions popping up right now. So as we were thinking about this, we said, well, maybe there's a third stream that we could introduce. And we thought about whether it should be in grades 7 and 8 or in grades 11 and 12 or 9 and 10. We settled on 9 and 10 this year because we believe that the students at that age would have a certain amount of independence, that they could be actually working at home if they needed to on their own without maybe needing to have parents there all the time. The younger ages, it's a bit tougher for sure. And then we found that, you know, as we moved forward through this year and looking at next year, we thought, well, if this is a grade 9 through 12 program, it makes a lot of sense that students get the help that they need through our junior school and in through grades 7 and 8, and then they are able to transition to something that might be a little bit different, allows them more flexibility, especially as lives get a little bit busier in high school. So that third stream really integrates the best of what online learning could look like. And that's sometimes a bad word for some people, but I want to talk us through that a little bit tonight. But also the face-to-face piece, because we believe it's important, as you probably do too, that social connection is super important for students, and we want to make sure that they do feel as part of a community. Lots of online programs that you might find out in the world there today are really kids online on a computer with a teacher that might be kind of distant and not that interaction piece. So we want to make sure we have that as part of this as well. And then we thought, how do we get deeper into the curriculum too? So we'll talk about those three pieces as we move forward here. But we really did believe, and we do believe, that the future of education has these components with it. And so we were seeing that even as we've gone through the first few months of this program, there are shifts and changes as we're going along to better meet the needs of students that we're seeing that are out there. So I talked about these three pieces, and I want to just break it down a little bit. The flexible online learning component means that students are able to either be at home or be abroad or be in a program, like maybe there's a high performance athlete and they've got they're on a ski hill in Quebec or something like that. We've seen that already happen this fall. But they can also be in the school setting. Really is what they need at the moment, and to be able to be flexible for their life and lifestyle. But we also have that engaging in-person learning. So all the students are within the building at least once a week so they can get together as a group, as a grade, and work through things together. We'll talk about that in a bit as well. And then the third piece was the experiential off-campus learning that we're doing in the Blended Plus program than we would have time to do in the regular programs in Calgary Academy and the collegiate program. So every few weeks they're going off to do some more in-depth, immersive types of experiences through the Blended Plus program, which has been really positive. We'll see a bit of that as well tonight. So if we go back, I mentioned this as well. We started in 1980 in Calgary, 80-81, with our first class of, I think it was 47 students in the south part of Calgary there, and grew throughout the years. But that was the Academy program. The Academy program was built for students who were struggling, might not have been at grade level yet, had certain issues that they were working through, but they just needed a better structured environment with teachers that cared deeply about them and a system that would really support them through with teaching them transferable skills and study habits and those sorts of things. And then by the time we hit into the mid-90s there, we introduced a second program, and that program was called the Collegiate Program. And the Collegiate Program is for students that might be coming in to us from outside that were at grade level, but just wanted some smaller class sizes, like what we were doing around REACH, or it might have been a student that had come through the Academy program and was ready for that transition into the Collegiate Program. And then, of course, we fast forward to this year, and all the lots of changes have gone on over the years, but adding our third program in around the Blended Plus has been something that's very exciting for us. We know that we're kind of on the leading edge of these sorts of things. There's only two other schools in Alberta that I know that are doing something along these lines or trying to, and they've been working through their first year of some of these things as well. So one of the questions we ask, and I'm sure you're asking too, is my child a Blended Plus student? Could it work for our family as well? So really the program has been geared towards families who are looking more for some flexibility as opposed to a traditional structure of learning of the 8:15 or 8:30 to 3:15 in the day, looking for some flexibility around that. Some students do really well in one subject and can motor through it or want to go deeper and longer with a subject. But in the regular school day, subjects are broken up and chunked up throughout the day, and that's just really the way traditional schooling has worked. So sometimes it's for students that have needs for flexibility in their schedule for activities that might be happening outside of school. So again, I mentioned the athletics piece, but there's also, students in grade 10, 11, and 12 are starting to get jobs. There might be some family travel that wants to happen. Lots of different reasons why they might want more flexibility in their schedule. It might be a student that actually prefers or enjoys working more on their own, at their own pace, maybe in their space in their own home, and that works really well for some students as well. So that's exciting too. There might be barriers to learning in the traditional setting for some students, and that could be things that they're going through in the moment. It could be some mental health issues. It might be social dynamics that they just want to change up things a little bit and have a little bit more control over their schedule and time. And then, of course, the last one there really is, I mentioned at the top there, is around that choice and voice. Students, we believe, will more and more over the next decade here be looking for more choice and voice in their learning, and families will as well. The flexibility approach and moving probably a little bit more away from a structured, really tight, scheduled approach to it. So that doesn't mean that we're necessarily changing our Calgary Academy and collegiate programs. We're working within the boundaries of those pieces, but the Blended Plus program allows for that third piece to really kind of experience this and try it out for sure. So we'll talk a little bit about program structure, and then I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Ross, and he's going to talk through a few things as well. But when we talk about the way that the program is structured, there's basically three components, as I mentioned before. There's the online piece, there's the in-person piece, and then there's the off-campus piece. And all of these are the learning pieces of it, the learning components of this program. And then we have everything on top, which is the plus piece of it, which is being part of a school community. So the students don't really miss out on anything with regards to how a community like this could run, but it's really adding to everything that they've been able to experience around the flexibility too. So when we look at online learning, so this is kind of the way we approach things as far as the online learning, and there can be a bunch of different ways of going about this. But, at certain parts of the day, students are online, synchronous with the class, with the teacher, whether they're at home or at Starbucks or on the ski hill or in school, just doing their work within the school walls. They can be taking part in these lessons. They are interactive and engaging. We've learned a lot, as you probably know, going through this pandemic and doing online learning for the sections that we had to do that. We were able to pivot pretty quickly at our school because of the benefits of our technology. And we had already kind of gotten a foothold with Microsoft O365 and Teams. So we were able to kind of roll with that pretty well. But it helped us to go through that experience to know what it is that engages students online and how do you get kids connected as well as if you're not in front of them in a classroom setting. So we talk about a media-rich asynchronous learning. Asynchronous means at your own time and pace. So some students, they might sit through that lesson in the morning. They might want to do their homework or do the work on what they've got, maybe in the evening. Or maybe they're early risers. not many teenagers are, but it's possible. Maybe they want to take a shot at doing their work early in the morning, getting it out of the way, and then being refreshed for classroom time. Virtual breakout rooms is another piece of that. And then, of course, there's the live one-on-one conferencing with their teachers that they can do throughout the day as well, whether they're at home or at school. So lots of flexibility in the approach to that online piece. So it's not just sitting like you're doing right now, listening to someone lecture at you. It would be much more engaging probably than even I am. I know it's hard to believe. The in-person piece, of course, is the once a week usually for our students that are coming in. Right now, the 9-10s are coming in on a Wednesday. So they spend the whole day in the school on Wednesday, and they have a lot of different pieces that they covered. I know Miss Peterson was doing a lab this week with their students on Wednesday morning. Mr. Brodeur was also doing an immersive experience as well around social studies. So it gives him as a chance to get the kids in and to be actually working with them through some of these projects. It might be a lab, some STEM activities. We might be able even to do some physical wellness during that day. And then, of course, the dreaded test and quizzes, but it gives us a chance to make sure that we know that where students are at as they're going through the process on a weekly basis as well. And then the hybrid flex time. So that's really where it allows that flexibility for students. Students can choose to learn at home or at school for those 4 days a week. And then that social interaction and learning with peers is really important too. So again, some of the students are actually coming in. I would say probably about half of them come in almost every day of the week. Sorry, I should say every day of the week, there's about half of them in there, not the same half every time. So there's some students that would come in for 2 or 3 days. Some might be in for all 5. Some might only come in for 1. So there's lots of flexibility and approach there. And that can change on a week-to-week basis. Mr. Brodeur and Ms. Peterson set it up at the beginning of the year where they would sit down with the parents and the student, talk through what the schedule might look like. And we saw a lot of students in to start the year off, and then a bit of flexibility over the last little while as well. And then again, like I said, the teachers are available actively to support online and in person. So you need to know that these are CA teachers. These are folks that know our students well. They know exactly what it means to personalize learning for students so that we understand where students are at individually so that we can actually walk through that process with them. So you get the full CA experience, but in a different setting like this. And then the last piece is the off-campus learning, and the off-campus learning really is, like I said, these immersive experiences where they get to go a little bit deeper in some of the pieces that they've been doing. And Mrs. Peterson will talk about that, I think, a little bit later, but like field studies that they could do, they've done a couple of those already this fall. There might be service learning components as well, connections into the community. I know we've been working on some connections with SAIT. They have a new hub downtown of interactive technology. They just haven't been able to open it yet. We're hoping for that in January, February. And then, of course, even getting out into the community and doing some physical activity as well, which they've been doing this fall too. So it's been great that way. So that off-campus learning piece is valuable to us, and we want to make sure we continue to do that. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Mike, Mr. Ross, and he's going to take us through a little bit more of the plus piece of this program as well.
Thanks. Yeah. So one thing, that we always worry about when kids go online, I think, is the social aspect, as Mr. Carlson said. And, one thing we want to emphasize with the kids is that there is still that social aspect for the kids. Certainly, we know the important part of high school and the things we all look back on and fondly remember are the experiences we shared. And very seldom was that math class. I did have one really good math class, but I don't talk about it that much. But certainly the involvement in the school activities. So, we have the musicals that are going on. Kids in Blended Plus have access to all the programs that we offer at CA, all the clubs that we offer. They're more than welcome to take part in that. So they are. So they're still heavily involved in that socialization, that connection. Many of them, if you're in CA right now, will have still good friends in CA that they want to see regularly, and that will still be available. So those experiences like musicals, and Mr. Carlson moved to the next one. You turned off the thing, so I can't control it. Knights Athletics Sports is still available for kids. We know how important it is to be active. One of the things that we've learned through this is that the desire for to socialize is still huge, even among kids that want a more flexible schedule. And so we want to emphasize that all of these programs are available. So we have all your typical sports, your basketball, volleyball, soccer, badminton, strong golf team, a ton of ways for kids to get involved into athletics and connected to the school. Lindsay, do you have a question? Is this about the math comment?
Nope.
I love math. Oh, okay. We also have access to our travel studies program. So if you're someone who's in grade 8 or 9 right now, this is a program that starts in grade 10 at Calgary Academy. And the International Travel Studies programs involve students traveling on spring break for 2 weeks. And they spend a week touring and visiting all the touristy spots. And then they spend a week really what I call more immersed in the culture, because they're actually working hand in hand with other people, the people of the country. So you don't get more immersed in trying to figure out what people are saying as you build a bathroom in the backwoods of Cambodia, I'll tell you that. But along with the international travel stays and that program that goes out to all over the world, we also have a program, an art program that goes to New York every 2 years. And that program goes to New York. They spend a week basically visiting museums and hitting up the nightlife, and well, not a full nightlife, but the plays and the musicals that exist out there. So that's a really fun experience as well. With the ITS too, we have weekly meetings where kids learn about the culture prior to going there, and because the way they build a schedule, I know Ms. Pearson will talk about this later. They build a schedule so lunchtime lines up across the board. So there's not so kids can come if they're in the school all day. They still share the same lunchtime as everyone else from 9 to 12, so they can hang out with their friends and attend meetings if they need to. We have a number of clubs still here at the school, it started and continuing. We have a student executive that's really popular. We have Dungeons and Dragons, QSAs. We have music clubs at lunchtime. So all of those are open because of the way we build the schedule. And even if they need to attend virtually, that's an opportunity that exists as well. I'll pass it on to Kim, who's one of the teachers, and she's going to talk about some of the experiences they've had this year. And she'll walk you through kind of what a schedule might look like for a 9-10 student. Just give you a sense of what goes on day to day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Peterson. I've been asked to talk about what our Wednesdays look like for the most part when we are together. So our very first day, this is actually pictures from our very first day with this group. So we went on a bonding trip because, we had students that were new to the school. We had students in grade 9 and grade 10. And then we didn't really know a lot of them either. So it was a chance for us to all get to know one another. So that was a great way to start things off, I think. And, Skyline Luge, if you haven't tried it, is so much fun. So I'd strongly recommend that if you're looking for something fun to do. So that's how we began the year. We wanted to sort of set the tone. Do you mind switching to the next slide, please, Tim? We've done lots of trips off site already this year. This is obviously disc golf. So this actually was part of our phys ed program for our students who are in the blended program of phys ed. There are some elements that their coaches can sign off on, or somebody who's leading programs that they're in, and others that they can't. And so one of our phys ed staff, Tracy Sullivan, she is in charge of sorting out phys ed activities to make sure that our students meet all the criteria to get their credits, especially in grade 10 to 12. So this was one of those trips. We also went hiking at Nose Hill Park. This week we had yoga for athletes, for students to meet those outcomes. Go to the next slide, please, Tim. Biogeoscience trip, I think, it was definitely a favorite so far. So this one was highly immersive. This originally was 3 days and then a lot of work afterwards. But basically at this program, this was a blended program for us. And so we actually had our Wednesdays are our days where we're on site. So on the Tuesday, staff from the Biogeoscience Institute met with our students online and taught them everything they needed to know about the region around the field station in Kananaskis and what they could study and what kind of changes are being noticed in the area. And so that was the first day. And then on the Wednesday, we spent all day on site, and the students had a chance to ask their own questions and design experiments to test those questions using all the tools that they were trained how to use. And we had support from the staff there and gathered lots of data. As you can see the picture there in the middle, those ladies are very excited about the data that they collected that day. And then on the Thursday after that, so the very next day, we met again with the instructors from the facility to go through, now what does this mean? And how do I make sense of this data? Does it answer my question? Do I have new questions now as a result of this? Really great experience because they were driving their own learning. And in the end, they produced posters of the research that they conducted. And, we learned how to we worked on scientific communication and building a story. So, overall, this one was big, and it was a lot of fun, and the kids definitely really liked it too. Can you go to the next one, please? Great. So we went to the Calgary Zoo. So this is, believe it or not an alligator skull, because a few of us were definitely stumped by this one. It is an orca. But we did the biodiversity program that the Calgary Zoo offers. This is another example of flexibility of places that we went to visit, because here we told them that our students were actually a combination of grade 9 and grade 10, and this is technically a grade 9 program. And so what they did is they actually extended it and brought in elements of the grade 10 curriculum. And then even by the end of it, they offered an activity, and we said, sure, like, it'll be great. So they brought out pedigrees, so sort of the family trees of a bunch of the penguins that they have at the zoo. It was the actual family trees of those penguins. And the students were asked to pick some penguins that would be really good to match for the breeding program, because their breeding program is really important, and trying to understand why certain ones are good matches and other ones weren't. And so it was actually really neat, because I actually got into the biology 30 level of things and, doing analysis of family trees. So that was a great experience. We've also, we've gone to Telespark. I don't know, do we have any pictures of Telespark? No, okay. So Telespark was just recent. We literally just went. But Telespark was a lot of fun. They have a new RoboDog there named Flint from Boston Dynamics. So we went and visited him, and they actually brought him to our group, which was a lot of fun. Took part in a chemistry activity there, and just got to experience different elements of the Science Center and visit the dome and those types of things. Tim did mention earlier that we have lots of other stuff planned. That partnership with SAIT, we were really excited about, looking at things like, Fuse 33 makerspace and other makerspace options in the city, going to the downtown Calgary Library. Mr. Britter wanted to do something with a community of readers project down there. It's just things have been difficult, obviously, with the COVID restrictions. So we're hoping in the new year that things will start to open up and we can do more of those things. And the service learning as well is just starting to open up. So, and volunteering in the local community. So we've applied to volunteer at the Calgary Humane Society, and we're looking forward to some more opportunities. Again, once we get into the new year, and more of, I think, our younger students start to get vaccinated, I think more doors will open. So sometimes we stay on campus. We're not always out and about on Wednesdays, because there's lots of things to do in the school. So I, as a big advocate of science and a science lover, there's so much I can do online, but there really is stuff that needs to be taught hands-on, and math as well, hands-on in the space together, touching things and moving things around and actually making sense of stuff in that sense. And so lots of labs, as Mr. Carlson said, have been planned on those days. So this one here, we are studying motion and looking at the graphs of motion. And so we brought in one of our instructional design leads, Neil Frail, and he helped us with going through an activity where the students just basically got a chance to explore and play and look at the connection between what happened with the carts as they pushed them and the graphs that were being created. So a really great connection, rather than just seeing a graph, actually moving the item yourself and watch the graph be made in real time makes a big difference in terms of deeper understanding. And more of us doing stuff in class. They're pretty jam-packed. So the thing is, when you only really are together on Wednesdays, that time is really precious. And so we do make sure that we are making the most of that time when we're together. Can you go to the next slide, please, Tim? So a lot of times they're doing things like, lots of labs, collaborative learning, design thinking challenges. There's lots of things that are going on, like anything where we need to have discussions and debates. It's a lot better and it's a lot more engaging to do that in person. And so we take advantage of those Wednesdays for that. And then the next thing I just wanted to talk about was the fact that our classroom is open all day. So students who are not part of, students who, want to be inside the school on a Tuesday when it's not a normal day for being on site, they're welcome to do that. And we have students right now that are showing up at 8 o'clock in the morning and are staying till 2. We have some students we only see on Wednesdays, and that's working out really well for them because they're managing their time well and staying on top of their work. So there's lots of options, and even within the building, there's lots of options. We've got students who are working in the Learning Commons or going and working in the hallway. So all of those opportunities do exist for students who still may want to be quite immersed in the school experience. It's a question in the chat from Julie. There is a teacher in the room every day, and in fact, most times in the day, both of us are in there at the same time, so they would have access to us.
Great, thanks, Mrs. Peterson. I think we're going to pass it over to Mr. Brodeur now. Is that right?
Yep.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. So the program is really designed around two main principles: variability and student agency. So we know that learners are variable, that we know that we all have different strengths, challenges, and interests, that what works for and motivates one student might be completely different for another. We also know that in order to build capacity for students to become more independent and more self-directed learners, which are essential skills for post-secondary, we need to empower students to make meaningful decisions about their own learning with safeguards in a highly supported environment. So in Blended Plus, we don't expect our students to come to us as self-directed learners already. Instead, we intentionally teach these skills and we provide guided practice to develop these skills over time. So for example, we work with students to set goals, to make plans, to prioritize, to initiate tasks, to sustain attention, to reflect, to course correct as needed. And as Ms. Peterson was saying, our classroom is always open during the school day. So we have some students who come in person all day, every day. We have others who learn from home most days except for Wednesdays. And others have a variety of different customized schedules. So, and it really is what fits for them. The most important thing is that each student has a predictable learning rhythm for them. And Tim, can I get you to go to the next slide, please? So this is an example of the grade 10 weekly schedule. And the program is built, and what makes this possible is it's built around what's called a weekly learning format. So with the exception of math, which has a daily learning rhythm, so new materials released and resources are released daily, along with the synchronous or the live lessons. The other courses, the material is released in media-rich resources on Tuesdays, and then assignments, tasks are due the following Monday evening. And what that provides is an opportunity for students to have that flexibility and to make meaningful decisions. So what does the day look like? Well, the morning in blue there, that blended flex learning, that's where students can be learning anywhere, anytime, and they're using our different technologies like our learning management system, Schoology or Formative, to be going through their asynchronous learning tasks. And those tasks are supported daily or Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday with live classes. So that yellow part, that's live direct instruction. And it takes place, roughly between 9 and 11:15 with breaks for students. So those are the teachable moments where students or teachers are providing exemplars and instructions, and there's opportunities for participation, checks for understanding, all those typical things that happen during a live class. Students have the same lunch, as Mr. Ross mentioned, as other students in the school, so they can socialize with their peers. More blended flex learning in the afternoon, where students can be learning in our classroom, in our learning commons at home, in the chalet at a ski hill if they have Wi-Fi at their cabin, wherever they might choose to be. And then in the end of the day, this is grade 10, grade 9 and 10. Grade 11 and 12 is the reverse. It's in the first block of the day, is their phys ed and integrated studies. So that block of the day, students can either be choosing a flexible version of these courses, or they can choose to attend these courses with their peers. So daily phys ed with students in the other programs, or daily options with students in the other programs. So that in a nutshell is just a schedule at a glance. And for example, we might have students who choose to learn from home in the mornings, and then they'll come in for the afternoons, especially on days where they may have in-person drama, for example, since they're already in the school. Tim, back to you.
Great, thanks, Mr. Brodeur. So just a few more slides, folks, and then we're going to take some time for questions. But I wanted to give you a little bit of feedback. I was hoping to get one of the kids on a video for tonight, but they weren't available. But really, there's been such great positive energy around this. We actually did some survey work and research work with our families over the last month and got lots of great feedback. And it's actually feedback that's been positive, but also has been constructive to help us think about how we can switch things up. Because it's a newer program, we want to make sure we're meeting the students' needs at all times, of course. So I love these quotes. I love the middle one. This is the right tool at the right school. It even rhymes. But it was a reminder to me that people appreciate the work that we do at CA. But this is giving just a little bit of a different spin on things for folks that, for students that are looking for more of that flexibility. So I'm really excited about that. The question didn't come up much from the students, but one student asked it, and they were asking about the financial piece of it. I was like, wow, good for you. Your parents will be proud. So here's a little bit of just a heads up around it. So the tuition for the Blended Plus program is at the same level as the collegiate program. So it doesn't mean that Academy students can't access the program. It's actually a great program built for both programs. So I keep saying program a lot. It's something that's built well for both programs. So students that are in the Academy program or in collegiate program are having great success in this because there's the one-to-one ability to meet with students and meet their needs. And some students are able to flex and go and do their thing, and others get a little bit more support. So it's really a great program for all of that. So that's why it's tagged at that price tag. That also includes all of the immersive offsite experiences. So field trips, as you know, that happen throughout the year in grades 8 or 9 or 10. There might be 4 or 5 of them throughout the year, and they're usually local ones that just go around in Calgary. This program is really built to take advantage of the place around us, not just within Calgary, but also short local distances away, like into the mountains and such. But they're doing it on a more frequent basis because they're using those experiences to actually get into the curriculum with the students as well. So there's just a few other things in there. For some of you who are our own families, you don't have to worry about that admissions deposit and the new family fee. That really is just for families that are coming in from outside the school, like you would do if you're applying to either of the program. And then, of course, the supply fee, a little bit of stuff around the tech support, year-end awards, recognition night, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, some folks are always wondering about busing as well. So you can still bus at the regular price for the Blended Plus program. But for the Blended Plus program itself, we're offering one-way busing. So if you need a bus ride in the morning to get the students there and you can pick them up later, that's great. If it's at the end of the day, you can drop them off and they spend the day there and they take the bus home. That's fantastic as well. But again, the approach has really been trying to make it as flexible as possible for everybody's needs. The final one here that I was going to give you tonight was just around next steps. So really, this is an opportunity just to get in front of you folks tonight and to say, here's what it's all about. We'll probably do one more of these evenings in January. We're going to be reaching out to the community beyond Calgary Academy as well. And we also do talk about this a fair bit within our every 2-week admissions tours that we do on Thursday mornings. But if you're interested, please do go to blended.calgaryacademy.com. You can find a little bit more. There's some blogs up there. You can see the testimonial videos. And then if you're interested in registering for this for next year, please do reach out to the admissions team. That's admissions@calgaryacademy.com, and they can walk you through the stages and anything like that. If you have questions, you can certainly email me, Mr. Brodeur, Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Ross. We can all jump in on and help you understand a little bit more what the program looks like. And again, if you need to have a face-to-face, we can make that happen as well. So really wanted to make sure that we are answering as many questions as possible as we go through this process, because it is a new thing for a lot of families. And we want to make sure that it makes sense to everybody what they're getting involved in when they're taking the Blended Plus program on. So again, some of the highlights, I'll just leave you with that. The benefit of this program I see is really that flexibility and approach to learning. It's that anywhere, anytime piece, but it also is within the community. So it's not just on their own. And then it's within the Calgary Academy community where the kids can take part in the athletics, the international travel studies, the BAM field trip that we do for grade 9s, all sorts of things that really make up a school community. You're still part of that. You're not by yourself. The Blended Plus program is actually in the same hall as the other grades as well. So they get to see their friends all throughout as well. So I'm going to pause there and stop presenting, and I'm going to take an opportunity just to open it up to you folks that are with us tonight. If you have any questions, you can either pop your video on and ask a question through the mic, or you can pop it in the chat as well. And we'll just hang out here for a little bit and answer any questions that you might have, hopefully. Mr. Friedman.
Hi, thanks for that excellent presentation. Just a couple questions. Do they write the same tests, examinations, assignments as the regular stream? And if so, I don't know if you have a sense of how do they compare in terms of grades to the regular stream at Calgary Academy at the moment?
Sure, I'll let Charles and Kim take that one on for sure. One of them.
I can speak to math and science first. So I actually plan my lessons with the grade 9, 10 teachers. And so a lot of what it is that we are doing is the same, but it's not all the same. But the assessments, the major assessments are. And so the unit tests they've been doing have been the same unit tests that the other students are doing in the other two programs. I haven't compared them though. And so that's actually an interesting question because I know they're doing well, but we haven't actually compared to see if they're, you know, I don't know if there's a significant difference in how they're doing. I know, Charles.
Yeah, I would add that it's more like collegiate pacing with academy supports, if that makes sense. So because of the design, the variability works for students at all different levels in terms of whether students need more support in one area and less in another. That's something that we're able to provide.
Great, thank you.
Others. Lorena?
Oh, hi, and thanks so much for this really comprehensive presentation. This is certainly exciting to hear that we're moving to a place where our children are becoming more a part of their education versus their education and happening to them. You discussed small class sizes, and that's something that is fantastic about Calgary Academy. Can you talk about what the class sizes are? It sounds like it's one classroom with both grade 9 and 10s right now. So what is the number of children that you have in the class? What are you projecting? And how will you facilitate meeting the needs, i.e. human resources, space, and all of those kinds of things?
Sure. I'll take a shot at it, and then I'll let the others join in if they want to. So certainly the program was really built with a max size for a classroom of being maybe 20, but certainly it would really depend on the group of students that we have from year to year. And especially in high school, there's always going to be smaller group sizes in there as well. But the value and the benefit for the program really is the ability for students and teachers to meet on the one-on-one piece as well and to get their needs met throughout the week in those ways. So it's hard to say about a class size like you would have in a normal school setting where you would be in those classes all day long, because there can be such a movement and rotation around in there. As far as classrooms and staffing and pieces like that, certainly we're building the program to meet the needs of students first and foremost. So we want to make sure that we're giving them everything that we possibly need to have success in the program. So if that's extra math support outside of the time that is available, we can do that. We have classrooms, like I said, classrooms that are dedicated to students within the hallways that they're actually working through. And then, of course, the staffing, we're building that towards next year as well. I'm not sure if, Charles, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, it's this year we do have 9s and 10s sharing a space, and the curriculum is separated. So each grade is getting their own unique curriculums, of course. And partially that's because this is year one of a new program. People really signed up for a concept because it didn't exist until this year. And we've been able to provide proof of concept and show the success of the model this year. And ideally, we're moving to, one grade per classroom.
Kim, do you want to try that question that's in the chat there around choices and availability there?
You say that with so much confidence in me. So in terms of subject choices, learning and labs, in terms of there would still be a day every week where everybody would be on site. Labs, hands-on learning, collaborative learning, design thinking activities, all of that is still going to be a focus across grade 9 to 12. That's not something that is unique to grade 9 and 10. It's some of that stuff is the best way to teach the curriculum. In terms of subject choices, we're going to offer all of the core academic classes for sure that our students are looking for. So, right now it's a matter of seeing who signs up, because that's going to determine what classes we'll be offering. So, yeah, I don't really have a solid answer for that one right now. We're hoping to mimic what the school currently offers for those grades. Teachers are the same as regular classroom teachers. Yeah, so Mr. Broder and I have been at the school for a really long time. Charles, a really, really long time, but I've been there for 13 years. I don't know, I think he's just grew up there. But he's been part of the program for a really long time. So we're definitely, this is our home for sure, Calgary Academy. Sorry, the thing skipped on me. And help for subject area or teachers available throughout school time. Yeah, we are. So we're there. Officially 8 till 4, though we're both there at 7:30, and I think Charles is sometimes there at 6:30 or even 6 some days. But yes, we're there. And so when the kids come in, if we're not actively teaching our lessons, then we're available for students to help us. There's a couple of times where we might have meetings during the phys ed block, but other than that, we do a lot of help in person, one-on-one, and then if students who are at home, they can just either send us a message in chat, or they can give us a video call in chat, and we'll work with them one-on-one as well. So there's lots of opportunity for extra help, and they can definitely drop in or call us. Do you want me to go on to the next question, or somebody else want to?
I can chat about that one. So there's a question in the chat. You mentioned children who this might be a good fit for, or the characteristics for kids this might not be a great fit for. For example, kids who might not be the most independently motivated or driven. So one thing I don't think we shared is that this year all but one of our students are coded. So the program is really designed for your mythical typical student that may or may not exist out there. Students with different challenges, different learning disabilities, other barriers to learning like ADHD, things like that, are having great success in the program. The twice exceptional, the gifted LD is a great fit. So it's designed for variability. In terms of students who might not be a great fit, it's really maybe students who have a record of non-production. So students who are having a really hard time completing work or having a huge backlog of homework in a traditional program. This program has a lot of support, but it's not a silver bullet for students suddenly independently completing all of their work. So like we say, it's a guided process. We intentionally teach those executive functionings and self-directed learning skills, and we provide guided practice and we reinforce it. But that would be the one characteristic that student might benefit from a daily classroom, like an academy classroom.
Yeah, I like the way Kim said it too. This, as she was talking to the kids today, it's like we don't expect you to be perfect, but we expect you to give the effort and want to get better at this independent skills as well. So not everybody's going to have that in their back pocket, but certainly what they're working through with the kids and around these executive functioning skills has been really helping them to keep on top of things on a weekly basis, which has been fantastic for sure. Other questions? Good question. So resources will not be taken away from the traditional school setting in order to make this happen. No, this program is set to be its program within itself, and certainly all the resources that the students need within that program, it wouldn't take away from students in the academy program or the collegiate program if that's what you're getting at. These are really teachers that work within this program. There may have to be a one-off here and there if there's just a very small group of kids that wants to do physics, for instance. We might be able to do that, or have those kids within a physics class, but it doesn't change the ratios of what we're doing. It wouldn't go above where we're already at. It's really meant to meet the needs of kids. And I think just back to the original question a few questions ago, it's the students that are in the Blended Plus program will not be at a disadvantage for getting access to post-secondary. I want to make that really clear. Just because you're going to the Blended Plus program doesn't mean you're not going to have the courses that you need. You will get those courses. We will make sure that happens for sure. And we walk through that whole process. As you folks, there's a whole career development program at Calgary Academy that walks through grades 10, 11, and 12 with students. They would get all of that within the Blended Plus program as well, which is a great opportunity too for them to see where they're heading, make sure they have the right courses that they need. Lorena.
My apologies. I don't have access to the chat, and I use Teams every day, so I don't know why this meeting I don't. So my question would be, it sounds like things are going exceptionally well within this current classroom cohort. Is there a plan, or what is the plan for a student who, signs up and perhaps anticipated would do well, but it's really just not working? Is there an option, I know, to move back into class, or even perhaps say, what's happening right now in school? We'd like to move, now that we've learned more about it, is there an opportunity to move sooner, and partway through the school year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that question comes up a fair bit. The first question you had there around, is there ability to transfer back into the academy or collegiate program if things just aren't working well? And my answer to that was, yeah, I mean, we don't want students to be in a program that's not a good fit for them, for sure. So if that was a challenge in the fall and we needed to have a conversation about that, we would figure that out. As long as there's space in the academy and collegiate program, it's pretty easy for us to switch back over. The courses might be at a different place. You never know, but that's generally the way it works. So we want to make sure that everybody has flexibility enough that if it's not working for the family, then they can make that change for sure. And on the second question, your son talked to me today. Actually, he mentioned that as well, and so we'd love to have a further conversation about that, Lorena. If you want to give me a call tomorrow or Monday, we can have a chat about if that's possible to move into the program mid-year right now. Okay, just give it another minute if there's anybody more questions. And if there's not, you certainly are welcome to always email us. As I said, maybe all four of us will just put our emails into the chat. Gonna put them on the spot here. And just if you do have any questions, you can certainly reach out to us and ask those questions. If you want to know more of kind of what it looks like on the ground on a day-to-day basis, certainly Kim and Charles will give you that. If you're looking for more of the bigger picture, Mike or myself for sure as well. Okay. Well, I just want to say a huge thanks to you for joining us tonight, and thanks to these folks for presenting and on our behalf at Calgary Academy. Very excited about this program. Hopefully, it's something that's piqued your interest a little bit. Certainly, no pressure, but I would love to talk more about it with you if you have further questions, whether it's before the break or after. I know that folks within the school are doing the re-enrollment right now, so getting spaces set for next year is important in January. But we can always have those conversations as it moved into the new year as well. So without anything further, I want to thank everybody for your time this evening, and certainly do reach out if you have any further questions.
Thanks,
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.